Hello and welcome to the F1 Sim Racing World Championship 2025. We are back and I welcome you from wherever you are around the world. And just like us, I'm sure you cannot wait for the thrilling action on the track in our 8th season. To bring you up to speed, Freddie Rasmussen is your driver champion. He's the reigning champion. And of course, we have the team constructors held by Scuderia Ferrari. But will they be able to hold on to the top spot? Well, it is time to find out. Let's kickstart the show by having a recap of some of the action from last year and find out how the drivers are feeling coming into this year.
F1 Sim Racing World Championship is underway!
He does thrive in these sorts of environments, and I do think part of that...
That's a move, that's a move. Manley, who has a penalty and has just sent one up the inside.
Well, I'm not really thinking about overall points or position, just my main aim is to compete more consistently at the front. Because last year I made lots of mistakes.
First down the field, unfortunately for you. He was hoping to try and go down the field as well.
My stages for this season will be, of course, to win both championships. Yeah, I'm more hungry than ever to win both championships this season, and I'm looking forward.
Here comes Ron Hara again, looking to try and fight back. Blakely pushing it so close to the barrier, as though he's fast.
Our ambition is definitely to be trying to fight as far towards the sharp end of the field as we can.
Blakely takes the lead, takes it away from Tom Manley.
Yeah, we've been putting in a lot of hard work over these last couple of months, really trying to leave no stone unturned.
It comes now, Barry Burman, who's going to try and break his heart. Heading through now, in towards the chicane. Burman now takes the lead of the race.
As long as I am the best version of myself, it should be more than enough to hopefully get a really good result.
I just know my value, I know what I'm capable of, enjoy the moment, enjoy the butterflies, and I go on the track and show my best.
They've all got to take their praises because it has been fantastic from them. Take a bow.
I think that I will do much better than last year. I've been a lot more intentional with my practice. I really want to beat Yanni Tormel. I hate it.
Look ahead now, on the final lap, they'll steam up towards the line. It's Ferrari delight again. It's another 1-2, back-to-back 1-2s. Burman and Longay enter around the final corner. Alfie Butcher takes his second win and crossing the line. It is going to be Freddie Rasmussen. You are the bridesmaid no longer. Freddie Rasmussen has finally managed to achieve it. I'm going second, runner-up, 3 years running. You are an F1 Sim Racing champion.
What an incredible season it was, and we have been joined on the desk by none other than the voice of F1, Alex Jakes, and Matt Gallagher, the host of P1 with Matt and Tommy. Gentlemen, we're back. What a season that was. We saw some of the highlights. Excited to be back, Alex?
So excited to be back. It's great to be here in the arena. A lot of intensity. This is the first time I've ever done a LAN event for this championship, and the intensity is really, really building. We've got some championship in prospect. Yeah, I cannot wait to get underway with the action. Matt, from day dot, you were there. What does it feel like to be coming into this season?
Oh, so excited, Tom. Just seeing the drivers here, as you say, the intensity, that you could just cut the tension with a knife. It's great to be back. I'm so excited to be here in Sweden. It's definitely warmer in here than it is outside, and it's going to get hotter as well as
on-track action.
Yeah, there you go.
It's going to happen. Freddie Rasmussen, what does it feel like for you when you saw Freddie Rasmussen lift that trophy, finally the champion?
I probably felt and showed more emotion than he does. But, 4 times a runner-up and then finally winning the Drivers' Championship, he even gave a little smile, didn't he? Which was nice to see. And look, he's not done. He's the most consistent, the most impressive driver we've ever seen in terms of stats. And look, he's just over there. He's very close to his screen. He's dialed in. He's ready to go for another year.
He's locked in. Alex, I know that you will be locked in as well. In terms of the excitement of anyone can win this F1 Sim Racing Championship, that does make it exciting for maybe new viewers that are tuning in.
Yeah, if this is the first time that anyone's joining us, it's going to be ultra competitive, but the standard is always so impressive. I mean, the margins here, if we had an F1 race like we're going to see later on when the margins were so close, we'd be going absolutely wild. Look, we'll still be going wild, but the standard's super high. It's what we love about it.
Yeah, we do indeed. I tell you what, we always say it every time. It's the silly season. There's been lots of transfers, movements. Let's talk about some of those big signings for certain teams, movement. Where should we start then, Matt?
Well, we got to start with the man right in the middle of the graphic, Jarno Opmeer to Red Bull. That has to be the big signing for Red Bull. Of course, they didn't win the team's championship last time. That went to Ferrari. And the signing of Opmeer is a huge statement from Red Bull. And to be partnering Freddie Rasmussen, you're going to think they're going to score a lot of points, but also you then open up the discussion of, is it two number ones? Are they going to start fighting on track? Are they going to be willing to work together to the lengths of some other teammates?
Yeah.
It's all yet to be found out.
A two-time world champ is Jarno, a one-time world champ, and the reigning champ is Freddie Rasmussen. It's going to be a tall order for someone like Scuderia Ferrari, who won their first constructors last year, Alex. But that is a massive signing for Red Bull, and I think it sets their intent for this season. Two
champions in the same team. Incredible lineup. That's a Prost and Senna lineup when it comes to F1 sim racing. It's absolutely superb. As Matt's alluded to, though, there can be a little bit of friction when you put two alphas, two number ones in the same team. If they work together, they're going to be pretty hard to stop.
Yeah.
But listen, this is competitive. This is elite sim racing. We'll see when the rubber hits the road.
And also for any aspiring sim racers out there, looking at Alfie Butcher's season last year, coming in as a rookie and then suddenly snapped up, signed by McLaren, and a little bit of pressure on his shoulders now coming into this season. Deliver, please.
Well, he was phenomenal last year. You know, he had no expectation on his shoulders, really, and at the age that he was at 16, to deliver to the extent that he did, you know, a race winner. This is not an easy environment. You know, you might be sat at home thinking, I can do these lap times, close to it, whatever. Being under the lights, having the cameras, having everybody watching you is a completely different kettle of fish. And Alfie Butcher, of course, signed to McLaren. That's a huge move for him. You know, that he's set his career now to a path that I'm sure he's very happy with.
Yeah, the cupboard is full of new merch now. Nice and orange it is indeed. Talking of him, because he was a rookie last year, there are rookies coming into this season. I'd like to highlight some of them because the year before, we saw Thomas Ronhaar come into the competition and absolutely dominate. Before that, David Tunitsa in his debut season. Out of those drivers, who stands out for you, Matt? Maybe one of those drivers to look out for?
Otis Lawrence has made a few rumbles within this sim racing world, and I think that he's one definitely to watch. I think that, you know, when we look back to Alfie Butcher, I don't think he has set the template for 16-year-old drivers. I think it's going to be very hard to match what he managed to do last year. But that being said, he's shown that it's possible. And to see these six here, it's exciting. You see fresh blood on the grid. Hopefully they'll get their opportunity to race across the events as well. Because, of course, we do have the third driver that tends to support the team a lot of the time. So, yeah, it's great to see them there.
Yeah, and a whole setup behind as well with engineers, performance, analysts going on as well. Alex, we saw there with Haas, two new rookies coming straight in.
They love this tactic.
They do.
I think it's superb. They're like, okay, we've been abandoned. We're going to go rookies again. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Roll the dice.
It worked for them last year, though, didn't it?
Yeah, it did indeed. Okay, right then. We caught up with those rookie drivers. Let's find out how they are feeling about this season.
It feels very good to be a newcomer. I'm really excited.
It feels good, obviously, to race against all of the best drivers in the world.
It makes me really happy, and I'm very proud of myself.
It feels great to be a newcomer coming onto the grid. You know, I'm very excited to see what I can do.
To be a newcomer is, first of all, very exciting, but also adds a lot of pressure to perform and show what you can do.
Yeah, the team's welcomed me with open arms. Yeah, it's been an amazing experience, and I hope to stay with them for a long time.
The vibe in the team is very good, it's very relaxed. We can joke around, we can be serious. I think it's very effective. Yeah, really good balance.
I try to practice as much as I can together with my teammates and try to analyze every lap if I can improve anywhere else in any corner or any track where I can be a little bit better.
My expectations for the season is to maybe get a couple of points and just really take it easy and make sure I learn everything I need to do.
Just going to take it bit by bit as well, no pressure, as it's my first few races.
My expectations are to help the team forward, my teammates, and also to do well in races and qualifyings. I think qualifying is my best part, I should say. So if I just have a clear head in quali, then everything should be fine.
My overall goal is obviously to win the championship, but I'm not going to put any pressure on myself. If it doesn't happen, that's fine. It's stepping stones, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
I kind of know how everyone races, so now it's just a matter of doing it at land as well and do the best I can do.
I think we have done the preparation pretty well, and now it's time to perform.
Hello, welcome back. We've got some really exciting racing happening today. Qualifying coming up very shortly, but I want to speak to one of the team managers, of course, Tavetti Allen, alongside me for a Haas. You've got a whole new lineup of your team and two rookies as well. That's quite a challenge for you guys, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you. It's going to be a challenge, but I think our guys are ready to go for the race.
How do you start preparing for a season like this with 2 rookies, of course, and a whole new lineup?
We have great guys around us, and we've been working a lot, and we feel very good going for the first race of the season.
I feel like you're not as excited as I am. Come on, what are we looking forward to? What can your drivers give us? 2 rookies, what exactly are they going to bring to the table?
They will give their all, obviously, and I expect very good results from them.
What kind of results are we going to be expecting from Haas then? Because last season we had some really standout moments, of course, from Alfie Butcher coming in on debut. Really, really impressing for the team. He's set the bar quite high, hasn't he?
We can compare us to others. We are focusing our own work, and we hope it will play out.
And for yourself, how are you feeling? What do you expect from the team? What are you telling your drivers going into qualifying?
Like the same I said, we are focusing our own job, and we are not looking around too much.
Eyes ahead. I like that. Thank you so much. Good luck for qualifying.
Thank you very much.
Well, I don't know about you, but I've already found my glasses envy right there with Tavetti. Lovely pair of glasses, but talking as not only the manager but engineer as well. He seems very calm about everything with a whole new roster lineup. How difficult is that coming into a brand new season? I mean, he was very sort of low-key about it, didn't want to give too much away, but it's not an easy task.
They'll have had their prep, right? They've had hours behind the wheel, but you just don't know until you're in this environment, until it's round 1, until it's all on the line, how they're going to perform. So a few nerves there, I'd imagine, but they're just looking to execute processes today. No silly mistakes, no rookie errors there. That's the standard expected, even when it is your first race in the championship.
Both of their drivers, Matt, R8G Esports. So, you know, they're no mugs. They've done their time on the rigs and the sims, and even with one of the drivers, a lot of go-karting experience as well. That's going to help them.
Of course, yeah. You know, being signed by Romain Grosjean is definitely a confidence boost for these drivers. I think for Haas as a unit, it must be quite something to have to rebuild yourself every time. Like you find this talent, you nurture them, and then they just jog onto some other team. Like it's almost, yeah, it feels like a rebuild each time, but they've done it more than once. Yeah. So let's see what they can do again.
Okay, with no time to talk about Alpine, complete roster change for them. They're hoping to get more fortunes than they did finishing in 10th spot in the Constructors last season. However, let's talk about that schedule. Let's get you excited about what's coming up over the next few days. We start a return to Albert Park Circuit. I'm very much looking forward to this. The last time was in 2018, and we've only raced there once before. Then on Wednesday, we'll head to China, then Bahrain, and on Thursday, we round out Event 1 with a trip to Jeddah Corniche Circuit. Matt, out of those circuits, which one are you looking forward to most?
I love China. I've always loved China. Whenever I'm racing on the F1 game, it's always been a personal favourite of mine. You know, back in 2010, had the #1 world record for time trial.
Clang. We all heard it. We all heard it.
Less people.
Sorry,
2010. 2010. That's how old I am.
Wow.
Thank you. Cheers.
I can't believe
Appreciate it, mate.
Yeah, amazing.
But yes, so that's what I will hold forever. But that was before this kind of thing existed.
Let it go. Let it go.
Let me have this.
Yeah, okay, I will let you have
Thank you very much. You asked.
Jinxie, we'll talk about prize pool and everything, but out of those races, which one is most getting you excited?
Looking forward to all of them, but I think the novelty of having Australia back is going to be really interesting because they've raced at the venue before. They've not raced on this circuit before. It's a lot faster than the last time we had an event there. So I think that's going to be intriguing, and it's going to put massive pressure on qualifying coming up in a few moments.
Also putting pressure on is the fact that there will be an incentive money-wise. You see the Drivers' Championship prize pool right in front of you now. And when you're coming into a season like this and focusing back on Red Bull with Jarno and Freddie, you're battling it out there, but your teammates, the constructors, you get prize pool, and the drivers. Well, headspace-wise, what would be going on with the drivers there, Matt?
Well, they both want to win, that's for sure. They're both champions. They have a huge amount of pedigree, both of them. I think it's, of course, you have money on the line, as we can see there, both for the constructors and for the drivers. I think as much as I'd love to see them both go toe-to-toe constantly and just ignore each other and just go absolutely, hell for leather, I think that they will work together. They'll have to, especially with the likes of Ferrari that did so brilliantly well last year, getting 1-2s towards the end of the season, which just amassed a huge points tally for them. They're going to have to work together if they want to win the teams. And there's a lot of money there as well. So it's not just the drivers.
A lot of pressure then on everyone, but they will execute, I'm sure. And I remember for the Red Bull team, they had Mark Marcel Kiefer, who will be joining us very shortly. And also a shout out to Claire Cottingham, who you just saw. Let's have a look at the point system then. Unlike the real life F1, you get a point for pole position. That is the only difference there. So standard point system, but pole with a point gives that extra little bit of an added spiciness to everything, Alex.
Yeah, given the margins, usually hundredths and thousandths of a second, I think that's right that we have a point for pole position. Of course, Formula One from this year won't have the point for fastest lap, but it still exists here for sim racing.
Okay, perfect. All right then, I can't wait to go back to all the way back to 2018 when Brendan Lee finished on the top spot of the Australian Grand Prix. That is where we are heading to now.
And Brendan's asleep. That's good. Oh, he's awake now. That's perfect. That's fantastic. We're ready, aren't we, Alex?
I'm very much looking forward to this. Nearly as much as Brendan Lee is. Let's take you to Albert Park then and show you the surrounds. Amazing cutaway to our most recent winner around here, because this used to be the season opener, which is why it was included, but it's never been the switchback 1,000 overtakes that we get at other rounds. So it's dropped off the calendar. It's back 14 turns for the drivers to negotiate. And although it can look pretty tough, if you take out turn 11, Matt, it's actually rapid all the way around this circuit.
Oh, it is, yeah. Qualifying is going to be really close, as it always is. But the shorter tracks, of course, that means the shorter distance between the drivers, and it's going to be so important, right, to start this Sim Racing World Championship on a strong foot. Of course, we've got an action-packed 3 days full of 4 races, and they're going to want to just build that confidence, especially the rookies. We just spoke about them in the start of the program. If they can make themselves into Q3, just build that level of momentum, it'll be great to see.
It's really intriguing, isn't it? The different requirements for all of the drivers here. You've got proven race winners. You've got so many champions in the field. You've got the rookies that you've mentioned. You've got drivers who have been brought back, have got an opportunity, maybe with a new team. You're looking for Fabrizio Donoso there.
Part of the furniture, he is.
You know, he's been, since the original season, been competing. And then you've got rookie lineup at Haas. It's just so interesting at this stage of the season. We've got a steer of what we think is going to happen, but you just don't know until you get a green light at the end of the pit lane.
And that is why it's so exciting, Alex. I'm so glad to be back here. Especially, of course, LAN. We had moments, didn't we, where it was all online. It just didn't feel the same. Having them all here in the beautifully crafted monocoques, it has to be said as well, with deliveries of the teams. It's so awesome to see. And I believe qualifying is about to begin. And there you go. Look at that, Q1 underway.
It's about time. It's time for the rubber to hit the road. We have a green light at the end of the pit lane, and we have Lucas Blakely, a former champion, heading out there nice and early, getting a little bit of feel. The eagle-eyed amongst you will see that it's the green-walled intermediate tyre on the car. So he's out there for the time being, just getting a sighter, just on out laps at this stage of proceedings. Talking about turn 11, this was one of the corners that was tightened in recent years. Sim Racing has never experienced that corner in competition before. Of course, a ton of prep has gone into this. So many hours behind the wheel. So we don't bring you the practice sessions, but the drivers are absolutely putting the hours in to an almost ludicrous amount, Matt, that you see the drivers just going again and again and again and again. The commitment to getting to this arena is incredible.
It is. You know, we'll see in this qualifying session just how close all of these drivers are. And I think on their day, personal bests at home, they probably all match each other. But the thing is, the delivering here is another level. And I think another thing to be excited about for this year as well is team comms. We're going to hear a little bit from the teams and how they are communicating with their drivers and things like that to look forward to as well this season. And another thing, of course, that signals the start of a qualifying session is them all out on intermediate tyres. It's not
always
raining.
enjoy this nonsense.
Just to clarify, it's not raining. But you've got Ismail Fassi out there giving us a good old slide through turn 1. But yeah, it's so close, and that's what makes it so brilliant, is that it's so unpredictable. Of course, you have the big names, but Otmir last year, for example, Otmir last year really did need to pick up his qualifying, and that's the reason why he fell away. He gave himself too much to do in the races.
Yeah, such is the performance of the drivers in the field that you are not going to be able to undo an exit from a session if you're going to be a contender for the podium. It's just not going to happen unless you get a bit of weather or something along those lines, dare I say it. maybe, of the virtual sofa.
Oh, no, we're not having any of those, mate.
Oh, wow. So I hear. As we continue on, and just these are the early sighters. This is the great moment. This is the great moment in Australia in years gone by, when you'd wake up in the middle of the night and you get to see the new season in all its glory with all the camera angles. That's what we're getting at the moment. These laps are of no consequence at all. I find it amazing that they put in so many laps behind the wheel, Matt, and they go out there on the inter tyres. You're almost dialing yourself out of the zone, aren't you?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that.
It's such a bizarre... But these are the very best in the world, and it's like flicking a light switch one to the other. So we're just working our way across the board then. Everyone making our way through. We're on board with Fabrizio Donoso. As Matt said, he's been with us from the very early days of what was then F1 Esports, what is now F1 Sim Racing. And, I tell you what, as we look at what is, if you ever get a chance to go, by the way, the most incredible direction change from a modern Formula One car, that is such an easy way to invalidate your lap.
It is. Track limits is so difficult around here. You have to be on the absolute limit. But not go over. I think, of course, with strict track limits, you have to be careful on a lot of tracks, but this one, with how quick it is in that middle sector in particular, you're going to have to be very careful indeed as Fabrizio Donoso comes into the pits. And hopefully we will get to see some dry tyres. But, I mean, how quickly...
I like the way you turned round, almost appealing to everyone behind us.
Guys,
some dry tyres.
How do you thought about some dry tyres? But of course, with track evolution, we'll get quicker as we go through the qualifying sessions. It's going to be a 1:14, perhaps high towards in Q1, and as we get towards pole, they're looking. I spoke to a few drivers, maybe a 14:4. So keep an eye out for that as we progress through this Q1 session. It's always a lovely little 5 minutes of fill, isn't it?
It is, but at the start of the year, it's real excitement to see the drivers with the liveries that they're going to be with. They've put so much prep in with their teams. You're looking at the moment with everyone just taking a breather.
Good, doesn't it? Look at
the setup's fantastic
brilliant.
In here. A little bit of nattering to the team, last-minute conversation. You know what? I think, genuinely, every single team and driver should be relieved it's dry for round number one. Sure. You just never want a curveball thrown when you've put so much prep in. You're looking at the McLaren boys down there, ready and waiting for the real thing, which is coming your way in a few moments' time. The nature with having a stacked grid like this, Matt, is that we could easily get a shock in Q1.
Oh, absolutely.
Shock in Q1 around Melbourne, that's a mountain to climb.
It is. It's a fast, ferocious track, Melbourne, but it's not easy to overtake. And, of course, with the trains that we tend to see in the races, you get knocked out in Q1. You're either going to have to do something pretty crazy on the strategy, or you're going to have to pray for a miracle. And most don't happen. But of course, we are now still waiting. And this is actually quite interesting to me, Alex, in the sense of they don't just go straight out there. They're just sat there in their own thoughts. And that's going to have to, they're going to have to show some mental strength, especially the rookies, to just sit there and wait for the countdown. And then eventually they'll all come flying out the pits and we'll get some lap times in.
Yeah, for the more experienced drivers in the field, Freddie Rasmussen, our reigning champion, is the name that springs to mind. This is just repeat, rinse and repeat what they have done for so many years. For the rookies, you wouldn't be human if your heart wasn't pounding a little bit faster for a moment like this. Look at that fantastic Red Bull team for this year. Some storied champions in there. They don't look like they're feeling the pressure, though.
We've hyped it up, and then Yarno drops a yawn.
Yarno up there having a bit of a yawn at this stage.
So chill.
And there are the rookies that we've been talking about, ready to head out onto the circuit. Preparations done. And everyone just waiting around at this stage. As Matt has already said, reason for this, you want the track at its very best. It will be at its very best at the end of the session. Officially, if my eyes are correct, 10 minutes and 27 seconds to go as we are counting down here. And there's a bit of fun being had on the radio between, you can see the team set up at the end of the rig, speaking to their engineers there, speaking to their team managers, and it's an empty pit lane at the moment. I bring you reassurance it will not stay that way for much longer, though. Eventually, you're going to want to get out there and perform. And you're looking at the driver who was victorious here the last time that we ran an event around this circuit.
He was, and of course, before the start of this Sim Racing World Championship, he announced that this will be his last season. Brendan Lee, of course, has been involved since the very beginning, a much-loved character across the paddock, and Yeah, sad to see him go, and I'm sure he will want to finish on a high. Of course, alongside Thomas Ronhart, they are a brilliant lineup. Ronhart, of course, wanting to get his first World Championship, and very much is deemed one of the favourites going into this season. But back to Brendan, it'd be great to see a bit of that form that we saw when he was a double world champion.
Absolutely, and he's been in good form with league racing coming into this, so I think he's a driver in a really comfortable place with his decision, and I think he's in a confident place when he comes into his final ever season. You know you're getting old when we've got drivers retiring from F1 sim racing.
Yeah, it's slightly depressing. But yeah, of course, Brendan, one of those drivers to announce that, as we now finally have some cars out on track. On soft tyres, Alex. We can finally sit up, get ready, as Barry Burman, of course, a driver very well known for his hot lap prowess. And he is one sector away from beginning a flying lap.
Yeah, 5 times he's taken pole positions in F1 sim racing. And continuing on with what was the champion team of last year, Ferrari, so strong to close out that team title that they coveted. They managed to get the job done. Nicholas Longuet is his teammate for this year. You can see he is in your picture at the moment. Nicholas Longuet's performance, 8 pole positions he's had, and the 3 wins to go with it as well. So another driver with just searing speed behind the wheel. They're out there nice and early. And we've got a yellow flag in Sector 1. Maybe a wide moment down there. Bit of a lock-up into the rotation. And you can see the speed that they are carrying as we go back on board with Barry.
Here we go then. Into the middle sector we go with Barry. Of course, as you say, Alex, a very quick driver indeed. And he is on a serious push. It's quite interesting to watch these drivers and the slight change in their driving style that they've had to make with the way they turn into the corner for this game. And Barry, we can keep an eye as well on his live timing as we go through here. Of course, his first lap time on the board on the top right, you'll be able to see it. Once he's set a lap time, you'll be able to see the difference between that and the lap that he had done previously. And you can hear the beep in his ear as well for when he can activate DRS. Just about managing to keep it on the track there. On the exit as we come to the final few corners.
Yeah, you've got a little bit of the steering technique that Matt was talking about as well. It's very reminiscent of what we saw Fernando Alonso do in the early 2000s. A huge amount of steering lock being cranked on through certain corners, dramatically more than you would see in previous years. Fastest time out there does belong to Barry Borman. That makes sense. It was the first push lap of the season so far. We're going to get a direct comparison to his teammate right about now. Still caution in Sector 1 as drivers come out of the pit lane, and Nicholas Longuet manages to go 0.3 of a second ahead. Barry Borman, who did have a couple of lockups around that circuit. The Ferraris are first to put times on the board. We've got Otis Lawrence out there with a time that is not representative of his ability. Declan Barrett has gone into second place. Tom Manley displaces his teammate. And then we have Joni Tormala, who was on the podium the last time that we raced here, ahead of Alfie Butcher. And Josh Edu has gone to the top of the pile for the Alpines as we get the flurry of opening laps, Matt, from absolutely nothing to everyone on track at the same time.
Oh, I'd love to see it as well. A great lap from Edu, it has to be said. Of course, he had a disappointing season last year, of course, at Red Bull. Changed his teams now to Alpine, and he's gone fastest in Q1 so far, which is brilliant to see for him. That'll be a confidence builder. What about Jarno Opmeer? Can he start his Red Bull career on a high with a good qualifying performance to start 2025? He's, of course, not set a lap time just yet. Car out of the way on the left. Just about managing to keep it onto the apex around the penultimate corner. Now the final corner, you can see the car getting away from him a little bit. But that's the level of oversteer that these drivers are managing as he comes over the line. P3, not too bad indeed for Q1.
You can see Barry Borman, whose first effort was the beginning of all the push laps around this circuit, now heading into that drop zone. If you are brand new to this, just like Formula 1, we'll lose the 5 slowest drivers when the clock hits 0 and the checkered flag is out. Out front, we've got Edu ahead of Longuet and Beresnay. Danny Beresnay at Mercedes. Jarno Opmeer We saw the end of his lap there. Again, so very quick. It really does open up from this point on. As we go on board with Danny Berezne, this corner used to be far tighter. You're carrying so much more here. And again, another, if you were absolutely flat to the floor like they will be later on in Q3, really leaning on that curb without much margin for error. There's a caution out, yellow flag, sector 2 and 3 right now.
Could well just be slow cars at this point, but yeah, there are mistakes for sure, and I don't think we tend to see many mistakes across the many seasons that we've covered, Alex. But this one, with how much they're balancing, especially with qualifying, how much they're on the ragged edge with the way the rear end steps out, it will be fascinating to see how this unfolds across the entire season. Early pressure, it has to be said, for Barry Brumand, who of course we saw a bit of his lap right at the beginning of these flurry of laps. Down in 18th at the moment is Barry. Another one is Ismail Fassi, it has to be said, because he had a pretty decent season last year, showed his potential.
Yeah,
but he's down in 16th. So laps to be put on the board, and maybe some early nerves as well, which is very, very acceptable at this stage.
Otis Lawrence with a great first effort there in Q1. Of course, we're going to reset the times for Q2. But I think it's fair to say at this stage, we've got a little bit of a scrambled grid, certainly compared to what I thought was going to be expected from that first run. Josh Ido is top, ahead of Nicholas Longuet, and then it's Danny Berezne, and then Jarno Opmeer, Tom Manley completing the top 5, bottom 5. You've got Farsi ahead of Declan Barrett, then Boromund, Pookie, and Crozen find themselves at the very bottom. Early stages, but some big names there looking over their shoulder, and that's not what you'd want at this stage of the session.
This really gives me the vibe of put in a banker. This feels like a banker lap for a lot of these drivers, which is fine if you're in the top sort of 6 or 7 and you've managed to do a pretty decent lap. But as you go a bit further down, of course, you've not got a lot of time. We have one flying lap now at the end of Q1 here. And there is some pressure on some of these drivers. Brumand, as I say, being the one that really sticks in my mind. But then on the flip side of that, Lawrence up there, Manley, Berezne as well. Of course, he came a little bit back into form recently. So yeah, let's see. It can all change. That's the thing here with F1 sim racing, is that...
And to be honest, I expect
this could literally turn on its head.
Yeah.
Ido could be out in Q1. But right now, he's at the top of the timesheets, and he'll be feeling very good with that.
Everyone just taking a pause for the last possible remaining moment. You're going to have to get your own private part of the racetrack as well. You're going to have to not trip over anyone else. There are 2 minutes and 11 seconds to go. And we do have cars heading back out onto the circuit en masse. And everyone giving themselves the chance for the outlap. Get yourself into the zone and then push on. And there is a driver currently in the drop zone. Crozen looking for a lap that takes him into the top 15. That's all that's required. Final runs in Q1, the start of a new sim racing season. Great that you could join us for it. Really appreciate your company. Pressing play at the start of the qualifying hour, watching it all the way through as well. Drivers getting ever more brave. I don't think you'd be quite taking that line on your push lap, but generating the temperature required and looking for a lap that can promote them one lockup away from looking over your shoulder. For so many of the big names, we don't expect Barry Boromund to finish in 18th, Matt, but he needs a lap now to make sure that that's not the case.
He certainly does. How much are you willing to risk? That's the question around this circuit in particular. It's so fast, and the track limits, they arrive very quickly. As we now see Joris Crozen, who's coming over the line, the only driver to have invalidated, but did put in a 15-1 on his invalidation, so that would not have really got him in the safe zone at the moment. And he'll just be hoping, as a rookie, just get a lap time on the board. You do not want to be putting nothing on the table in your first qualifying session.
These are the moments to deliver. We are ending Q1 right about now. These are the final push laps. We're looking at the driver, the only driver, not to put a time on the board. Taking so much through that part of the circuit now, and it's easy flat to the floor now. You're just going up through the gears and you're waiting for how much speed you dare take into the left-hander, snaking the way through the part of the circuit where there used to be a chicane. It's now flat to the floor, and we're going to fling it in to the left-hander. The Haas driver really perfecting that part of the circuit, doesn't want to lose his lap time once again, and the checkered flag will be out. Who's finding an improvement? Who is heading out at this stage? Top 4 are confident, they're all back in the pits.
Here we go then. Crozen, has he managed to keep it within track limits? It was marginal through the fast left-right as he comes round the final corner, does Crozen. Can he put a lap time on the board? I saw a little shake of the head midway through lap. Maybe that was just him driving, but he comes over the line. Yeah, it is indeed 20th place. It was a lap that stays, but unfortunately 20th.
Yeah, 15.2, it did count, but it didn't count in the position that he wanted to. He'll be looking ahead for the race later on today. Freddie Rasmussen goes over the line, fastest of all for our champion so far.
Alfie Butcher in trouble, 15th at the moment and has finished his lap time. Is anyone going to improve out there?
Let's see whether he can. Ron Haar is in 10th position.
Yeah, Butcher's out. Butcher's out.
Look at
P16.
that. Look at that. Down he goes. Alfie Butcher. Sensational.
Brendan Lee as well.
Brendan Lee. Can he find any improvement? He can't. His teammate has gone up to 4th position. Brendan Lee and Alfie Butcher. Brendan Lee, a former winner around this circuit, would have been so looking forward to having Melbourne back on the calendar. Alfie Butcher, a race winner last year, out at the first hurdle. And that is a dramatic start to the season. Declan Barrett and Alvaro Carreton, along with Joris Crozen, the 5 drivers to go. And how about that? We talked about how close it was going to be. We talked about how tricky it was going to be out there. And we've had 2 major contenders fall at the first hurdle, whilst our rookie, Otis Lawrence, top of the pile.
Going to say, of course, Alfie Butcher. We were singing his praises last year, and of course he's gone to McLaren, and he's still got a huge amount of potential. But the new name, Otis Lawrence, we were like, nah, surely it's not going to happen again straight away. And he's fastest in Q1, of course, did have an extra lap. There were a few drivers that stayed in after their first lap, which will give them a slight advantage as we move on into Q2 and Q3. But yeah, fantastic lap from Lawrence to be top of the pile.
Yeah, it certainly was. Well, a dramatic start. Do you expect anything else with F1 sim racing? And a big moment then that eliminates one of our contenders, you have to say, for the title. That's what we all expected, given season 1. That's how impressive season 1 was for Alfie Butcher, but not the way that he would want to start his campaign. You've also got Brendan Lee out in the first stage of qualifying as well, along with Declan Barrett, Alvaro Carreton, and Joris Crozen. A dramatic start.
I think Claire has Alfie Butcher.
Disappointing, of course, Alfie. You've moved over to a new team. Not the start you were looking for today. I can feel that you're quite disappointed, and I can see why.
Yeah, you know, I think the first lap just wasn't good enough. I had a few mistakes, and ultimately the pressure was on straight away. Yeah, and obviously my own mistakes. So yeah, I'll do my best to make amends for it in the race.
Moving to a new team, does that add a lot more pressure?
I would say no, not really. I think the pressure's the same. My self-pressure, obviously. You do all this practice and it's quite heartbreaking to be out in Q1, but yeah, it is what it is.
What can you do from where you've qualified, just obviously outside the top 15?
Yeah, you know, I think we've still got a chance. Obviously, you can't write anyone off before qualifying, after qualifying, sorry. So yeah, I think we just have to give it our best shot.
We've also seen some absolute magic from you as a driver. I mean, you shouldn't be too downbeat at this point because so much can happen in a race.
Yeah, I think exactly. I'm still confident that I can get a good result out of this.
Okay, well, bad luck today. Good luck in the race.
Thank you.
Okay, right. Well, we're getting ready for Q2, aren't we, Alex, now? It's, well, you could see with Alfie Butcher there, disappointed. He was hoping for a better start to his season.
Well, how can you be anything else? So it's understandable, and he will lick his wounds and go again. Appreciate him talking to us as well, given that that's not gone to plan. Everyone else, the 15 remaining in the field, regrouping and ready to find themselves back out there onto the circuit as we are ready to start Q2, and there's a flurry of action out there nice and early.
Love to see it. Cars straight out there, ready to put a lap in. And of course, those drivers will be bringing a bit of a sigh of relief that they've started their season further than Q1 and the exit for those 5 drivers that we just saw. We're riding on board with Nicolas Longuet, a qualifying specialist, and he'll be hoping to stick it on pole here today. And that'll give him a great opportunity into the race later on this evening. And yeah, they're all, every single driver, as you can see, on the outlap at the moment. It has to be said, as we mentioned before we went to Alfie Butcher, Otis Lawrence. That was a brilliant performance in Q1. But as we get through the sessions, it's where the pressure starts to build more and more. Can he make it into Q3 in his first appearance?
Well, that will be a big question for the latter moments. This is the opening moments for Q2, and we are seeing the drivers work the wheel, trying to generate all the temperature in close proximity as well. Yeah, you're a lot of, I think it's just everyone backing off that's getting our automatic yellow flag out there. As we go on board with Thomas Gal in the Haas and looking to try and book his place in the top 10. This is where we see the margins get incredibly tight. And this is where we see it really come down to give yourself that opportunity, give yourself that foundation lap, which allows you to attack on later on. As now, carrying huge speed through that sequence of corners, Thomas Gal, the sole remaining Haas in this session.
So we're looking for around a 1 minute 14 middle, 1 minute 14.5, 14.6 as a good benchmark for these drivers as the track continues to evolve. This corner is just so, you can just visually, you can see how much they're attacking with that just slide on the rear end as well through there. It's the quickest way. Not a lot of us would be able to cope with the setups that these drivers run. Gal did do a slight nod of the head as well, but let's see if he's happy with this lap. Again, so aggressive with the steering wheel and the turning, and that's what I mentioned with the driving styles. And some drivers have been able to get used to it quicker than others. As Gal comes over the line, yes, 15.291, nothing to write home about for Gal, but some of these drivers will be running a older set of soft tyres, ones that they've used in Q1, so we won't be seeing particularly fast ones. But Otis Lawrence, 14.9.
Otis Lawrence having the time of his life out there at the moment. Lucas Blakely, former champion, slots into a 15.1. Nicholas Longue, 15.1 as well. And Pookie puts it with a 15.2. Jarno Opmeer goes into 4th place. And we're continuing to work the laps here. Again, just a message to disregard the constant yellow flag that we're getting up there. It's often drivers slightly slow off the racing line. That's why we see yellow flag from the very start. It's just drivers going slowly out of the pit lane, maybe slowly off the racing line. Still yet to see times on the board for the bottom 5 in the session. Everyone aiming to get inside the top 10 and to have a chance of competing for the opening podium of the season. Farsi now in your picture. Continuing on towards the end of the lap. Sector 3 then. How much are you prepared to risk? A lot of speed that you can take through there. Again, there is the dramatic steering lock, and he bails out of that one. Goodbye to that lap, but it's dramatic to watch, isn't it? From our point of view, don't know how practical it is for the drivers to learn, because you never want to be thinking about your driving style. Minor alterations with the game when it changes every single year, but that's a major alteration.
It certainly is. Of course, with qualifying, they can send it a bit harder. You know, it's one lap, they try and set the fastest time. When we get into the race, this is where it's going to be very interesting to see how far the drivers can take it, because of course, be aggressive on the steering wheel, fine. Might be quicker over a few laps, but you don't want to be too aggressive because then the tyre wear, the tyre temperatures will spike. So that's going to be interesting and may well find some slightly different strategies as we go into this season, where some drivers might just fancy taking the tyre wear but going for an earlier stop. I was speaking to a few drivers over the course of the last few days, and they were saying that there could well be more aggressive undercuts. You can potentially get away with it, but it's going to have to require not that kind of steering angle into certain corners at all times.
Yeah, slightly gentler on the steering lock, I would imagine.
Oh, look at that confidence.
Yeah, Otis Lawrence is loving life out there at the moment. That's lovely to see. Racing with a smile, and of course he's smiling when he's out there and he's top of the pile.
What confidence to have, though. That age, and he just looks straight down the barrel of the camera.
I would like to personally encourage that for all drivers.
Yeah?
Yeah, just give us something. Give us a little bit of a celebration.
Like the Ron Harsh shush? Something
shush.
iconic.
Cup the year.
Cup the year?
You know?
Yeah. Okay.
I like that.
I'm sure there are probably cooler things to do.
Well, there probably are. I'm sure the live chat is suggesting such things right about
I'm sure
they are. As we make our way back onto the outlaps then, Fabrizio Donoso, Chilean driver, getting a bit of screen time He's got his teammate up there at the moment. Great view that we've got. We've got these GoPros pointed every single driver in the field. Able to give you their live reaction as we go. So difference out there, split across the board as we move into the second run for everyone out there. And we're still in our warming phase for a driver that, as you say, Matt, he's been around for a long time. Now with Aston Martin, looking to try and get back to that podium finishing form that we've seen with him in previous years. Barry Burrman, he will be setting just one goal for this year, and that goal will be the championship. That's what he will be aiming for. Team's title last year, Constructors' title last year for Ferrari, and now he will be looking to focus on the Drivers' Championship that comes with its own prize pool. That's an alteration in recent times. Showed you the numbers earlier on, and something for both team and driver to aim for. As we are looking at a driver who, his first lap put him under a bit of pressure in Q1, responded to it like it wasn't even a question, and he goes again now. Worth underlining for everyone that this is a specific build for the competition of the game. This is not your standard plug-and-play game.
It's actually a little bit slower as well. So if you're sat there thinking, oh, no, I could win this easy. It is a slightly slower build. It's an esports build. So before you get too excited and start applying, but we'd love to see you here, and I'm sure a lot of the teams would love to see new talent.
Please do apply anyway. There's plenty of routes through that you can take.
Yeah, keep turning the wheel, but just don't get too excited, all right? These drivers are absolutely ridiculous. Danny Beresnay being one of those, of course, being around since the very beginning as well. So many drivers that you think, all the way back in 2017, they were starting their journey as Donoso pushing very hard indeed through the left-right. That's where you can get your lap time deleted if you take a little bit too much of either of the corners. And again, Donoso hard on the brakes, pushing the car all the way to the exit curb there as we head now into the penultimate corner. Of course, some of these lockups that you see aren't actually really lockups, and they're not losing any time at all as we head now down the straight. Where does Donoso go? He's P9 at the moment, and he goes all the way to the top of the pile, which you'd imagine with the fact that he's got a fresh set of boots on. Is it going to be enough to make it through to Q3, though?
That's the big question. So everyone's going to take a big leap forward here, as you would expect with the second runs. Going away from the old tyres to the fresh set of Pirelli rubber. And Barry Burrman goes ahead of Fabrizio Donoso. Looking at Joni Tormala, podium finisher around this venue in the past. Now with Alpine, they've got a brand new lineup for this year. Yoshida in the other car as well. Otis Lawrence, once again, finding himself P1. He's getting used to that at the moment. Ishmael Fassi has gone into second position. Freddie Rasmussen, P3 at the moment. And continuing to focus on Freddie Rasmussen, but he's gone over the line and he's posted his lap time there. And just looking at the bottom end of things, Danny Beresnay, currently in the drop zone, doesn't have a time on the board. Can he change all of that now as he comes across the line? He can. He goes fastest of anyone so far.
Very good lap indeed from Beresnay. Lawrence again impressing in this qualifying session. Just look how close it is. 1/10 of a second separating pretty much the top 10. But that's just standard stuff.
I've missed that.
Yeah, it's bonkers. But it's F1 sim racing in a nutshell. But that just shows it, right? 1/10 of a second. Just a little bit jittery on the brakes because you're nervous because you've got a camera in your face. That's it. That's the difference. So yeah, Beresnay, what a great lap from him. Lawrence, Fassi, Ronha. I was speaking to Ronha last night, actually. And I was speaking to a few of the drivers, as I mentioned. I was going, you know, if you're a betting man, who would you put your money on? Just looked at me, stone cold dead, me. The most confident driver
I love this.
in his own ability. And why not?
I think this is excellent. Like, if you're not going to turn up and bet on yourself, if you're not going to back yourself, why are you in the room?
Exactly.
I think that's superb.
He's 5 wins to his name, 14 podiums, 8 pole positions. Ronha, of course, wanting to add a little 1 next to the stat that says championships. That'll be his next target. And one that he definitely can do as well. Can he perform over the course of the whole season? The difficulties that he had to face in Abu Dhabi as well. He went very aggressive at the end of the race, trying to win the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah.
It was utter cinema, really, to watch that final race and 3 drivers trying to win the Drivers' title. Ronha came so close, and I'm sure he will be more determined than ever to change the outcome this year.
Yeah, 6 points away from the title last year. The non-scores, Zandvoort and the Circuit of the Americas costing him. It was the consistency of Freddie Rasmussen to always find himself in the top 10, always finishing every single race and closing out the season with what it's worth saying as well is there's a real value into accepting when fourth is good enough. Not trying to turn it into a second place, not trying to overextend, and knowing what the car's got underneath you on that particular day. It's part of an experienced competitor's mindset that the rookies will be learning at the moment. As you can see, the eliminated drivers just watching on. Going to be a few more eliminated in a few minutes' time. We've had 2 runs, one realistically for show on old tyres, one legitimate set on the fresh set of Pirellis, and now we find ourselves with 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go. We're looking around the arena at this moment in time as everyone who has a shot of Q3 is calibrating their final thoughts, where they need to improve. As Matt has pointed out to you, the timing, it's absolute fine margins and a half out there. You're looking for hundredths rather than tenths. Of course, the track is going to rubber in. It's going to be at its best condition of the entire day so far. This is the lap time to deliver.
It certainly is. Speaking of lap times and delivering, Nicolas Longuet, he actually set the fastest time of the session, but got it invalidated. It was a 14.653 on his lap that he pushed a little bit too hard. And what I love from this is that Beresnay has the fastest lap of the session, but Thomas Ronhaar in 4th has the fastest first sector. Barry Brumand has the fastest middle sector in 6th, and Lucas Blakeney has the fastest last sector in 10th.
Wonderfully split, and exactly what we love about F1 sim racing and these brilliantly talented drivers. As a result of what Matt was just describing to you, Nicolas Longuet, who's had so many pole positions in this championship, finds himself out there nice and early, but under the pressure of having to deliver. And we don't know where he invalidated. No, you might. No,
I don't.
Okay,
I wish
so
I knew.
We don't know. It's most likely to be the fast chicane just before this sequence of corners. There's also an opportunity on the exit of turn 2 and the exit of turn 6 as well. It's likely to be the fast chicane. You are trying to pinch as much of the apex as possible in the second part of that corner. Either way, it doesn't count. It's now time to go again. And Longuet with a big pressure lap, knowing that some big contenders have fallen in the first part of this qualifying session. He does not want to join them in Q2.
He does not. Here we go then. Longuet beautifully navigating the first couple of corners. And as you said, so many pole positions to his name. Hasn't been able to convert as many race wins. Just look at the turn-in that Longuet gets into that right-hander as he once again beautifully crafts that Ferrari through and towards that sector as Longuet comes through, and he is a 10th, just over a 10th up on his fastest lap time at the moment as he continues to push on. Tom Manley just behind him as well, hasn't got a lap time on the board, nor has Tormula, who finished 3rd in 2018. We'll be wanting to repeat that later on today.
He certainly will. 10 seconds, 9 seconds, 8 seconds on the clock. The next time they go past the main straight, the checkered flag will be waving. But who will be our top 10? The answer a few moments away. At the moment, Pookie, Gal, Longuet, Manley and Tormula are in the drop zone. Manley without a time on the board, Tormula without a time on the board, and Longuet without a relevant one. That gives him a lot of pressure coming around this final corner of the racetrack. DRS open, he brings it across the line. Does he find the lap time he was looking for? Longuet does not find the lap time he was looking for. Big moment as his teammate goes fastest for a second because Manley's displaced him. Great lap from him. As we go over the line now, Joni Tormula in 10th position will be looking over his shoulder, but Longuet is the main story at the moment.
Look at Otis Lawrence again.
Otis Lawrence once again finds a route, and Fassi now takes it away in the Williams. It's a scrambled order compared to what we were expecting. Longuet is out at the moment.
We're on the cusp.
See another big shock.
Otmer's out.
We are going to see another big shock. We're going to see 3 big shocks because it's Otmar and Blakely and Longuet, along with Tormula and Donoso, who are out in the second part of qualifying, and this F1 Sim Racing Championship has started with a bang. big moment out there. Big names falling before we even got to the top 10 shootout.
Yeah, Otmir, Blakely and Longay all out in Q2, and that just tells you exactly what we have in store, I think, for the rest of this Sim Racing World Championship. Fassi fastest, Lawrence second, Ronha, of course, one of the big names up in third, but then you got Manley as well, you got Pookie up there in P7, Gal, a rookie, up in P9. Look at this new blood, Alex. They're here, and they're here to stay.
Absolutely superb
Look
stuff.
what it
You can
means
see.
as well.
Yeah, Lawrence punching the air with delight. And Nicholas Longay, understandably frustrated with what's happened on the racetrack. And big moments out there.
There's Longay. Getting a bit hot, as you'd imagine. It's pretty tense stuff out there. So let's go and hear from Jarno Otmir, who starts 11th.
Jarno Otmir, of course, alongside me, a real shock there. Let's just talk quickly. You've moved to a new team. How are you settling in there?
Yeah, all good. Practice has been going well so far. Always know that quali is a tricky one, especially with this grid, of course. I was kind of expecting Q1 to be a little bit easier this year, but getting into Q3 a little bit harder. So yeah, it's just a tiny mistake and then you're straight away out. That's just how it is, unfortunately. But yeah, still P11 is not too bad to start from. So yeah, we can still fight back in the race for sure.
Yeah, and we've seen you do that many times. You mentioned just a small mistake there. What exactly happened?
Yeah, lap 1 started, or turn 1 started off good. First sector was quite okay. But yeah, going into sector 2, little mistake, losing 2-300s. Then I went through the flat out chicane. Just kind of got unlucky with how I catch the curb, losing another half dent, and yeah, I had to make it all up in the last few corners. So that's what I tried, but wasn't enough in the end. So yeah.
How are you approaching the race?
Full attack, of course. I mean, we're P11, and yeah, trying to just enjoy it.
Always full attack. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jarno Otmir talking to us after a surprise exit in Q2 at the start of this sim racing season. Matt, it's anyone's game today.
It really is, and it's the beginning. It's round 1. This is where the momentum starts, and you've got the likes of Lawrence just turning up, sat there, looking straight down the camera. Yeah, I'll deliver again in Q2. Thank you very much. Fassi, of course, finishing the Q2 session fastest with a 1 minute 14.572. I'm fascinated to see how this all unfolds and how the experienced drivers bounce back, especially in the race. I think that's where it's going to be very interesting to see Otmir, that we've seen so many brilliant strategies unfold with him. Of course, you have the likes of Longay as well. It's going to make for a brilliant race in a few hours' time, and I suggest everybody tunes in a little bit later.
Yeah, it is, because we're going to have the nature of really intriguing cameos. You'd expect aggressive strategy for those who don't have much to lose as well. So that's going to give us plenty to look at across the board, and we've got plenty to look at the front of the field. You genuinely can't rule anyone out for pole position here, Matt, which is not something you can often say. Considering the quality of drivers that we've had at the front, those usually on pole position, the race winners, the champions, can be predictable. There's nothing predictable about the event so far.
I think Q3 is going to be quite telling. It's all well and good delivering in Q1 and Q2, but this is now pole position. This is the plaudits. This is where you start on the grid for these 10 drivers. And you still have Rasmussen going very quietly about his work. Ronha is still in Q3. Brumann's there as well, and he was under pressure in Q1. We've still got big names there, and I fully expect at least one of them to be on the front row of the grid.
Ishmael Fassi in your picture. 10.5 minutes to go. And the Williams driver cranking on the steering lock as he makes his way through turn 11. This Albert Park circuit back on the calendar. The season opener for us with sim racing, and the season opener for the 2025 Formula One World Championship this year, included for that reason. And the Saito lap complete then, back in the pits for the sole remaining Williams in the field. And it's all quiet once again as everyone staying put as per the regs. I'm not sure I'd fancy that. I'd want to disappear, to be honest, if it had not gone to plan. But that's why they're racing. Far greater temperament than mine. As just waiting to see everyone out there for these first runs.
There's Fassi.
No gesture at the camera, but...
No, thought we were going to get it as well.
Yeah.
I looked down there and went, actually, you don't deserve one. I was like, okay.
Not yet. Maybe if he sticks it where he did earlier on, when he was right at the sharp end, we might get a celebration after Q3. But when there's an opportunity like this, when the heavy hitters have gone out in the early stages, you've got to take your chance, because it might not be like this all the way through the year.
Absolutely. This is a great opportunity for the likes of Manley, Gal, Lawrence, Edu as well. You know, he's bouncing back from, as I mentioned earlier, a disappointing season at Red Bull. He's now changed teams and he's in Q3. And I'm sure he wants to prove himself. Like, you know, Red Bull, whether he was let go, won't discuss that. But in terms of, he'll want to send a message and go, you know, look what I've still got. And he's here in Q3 and has a great opportunity to start well in the race later on today. Fassi and then Pookie as well. What a brilliant performance so far from him in the Mercedes. As we now have drivers out there on the outlap, 3 of them. We have Brumant, Lawrence and Edu all getting ready for their final laps in Q3.
You're going nice and early. You hear the beep, the tone for the driver as they make their way into the DRS zone. And we're just going into this left-hander. This is the corner that's been catching a few out so far. Plenty of DRS zones around this circuit. Such is the nature of tricky overtaking through the years. They just chuck them all at this racetrack. Anywhere that it points in a straight direction, it's usually a chance to use the drag reduction system. So 1 Ferrari in the session. Barry Burramund knows his way to a pole position in this championship, but really is wide open here. Can you deliver on that first run, though? Give yourself a foundation. That's the key thing. This man's been one of the stories of the session so far. Otis Lawrence, currently working the wheel. Matt, how's it looking on board?
It's looking fast, ferocious, and within track limits at the moment for Lawrence. I bet he's got a celebration and a half in him if he does manage to clinch pole position in his first session in this F1 Sim Racing World Championship. This is the key part now, though. Can he keep it within track limits through this fast left? The left's fine, counters a bit of oversteer. He'll be okay with that as well on the right. And he is pushing on very hard indeed as we enter the final few corners of his first lap here in Q3.
Wonderful confidence of a driver on debut, trying to announce himself at the very front of the field. Last couple of corners on the racetrack will dictate a lot. How brave are you feeling with the throttle pickup right about now? Almost decide before you go through the corner. Not a lot of runoff. And the final corner of this racetrack, across the line we go. And Otis Lawrence continues this run of being at the front of the field. And the others will have a chance to respond. Remember, this is not the final run. We're not into the last chance saloon. But once again, he has delivered when it matters. Nice early effort. And Barry Burramund slots in to 2nd position.
Yeah, some of these drivers will not have a fresh set of tyres to be going straight at it. But Otis did a pretty decent lap there with a 14.7. That's a good banker. It's not going to be anywhere near pole position. And Brumand, of course, down in the 15.1. Just trying to keep dialed in. You know, go out there, set a lap, just stay focused. And rather than just sat in the garage the whole time. I'd get bored. You'd get bored as well, wouldn't you, Alex?
I certainly would. I don't want to be out there getting a sighter in. Josh Edu is the driver we're on board with. Let's see where he goes.
That's more like it.
14.5. Go top of the pile. Sound of the car through the final corner of the racetrack. Shmuel Fassi on the evidence of the first 2 parts of qualifying. Will be in the mix later on. Clearly not on the tyres at this stage. And we're building up to a grand finale here, including our reigning champion, Freddie Rasmussen, out there, or he will be out there at some point. We're looking at the Mercedes of Pookie, who is the choice to partner Beresnay for this opening event of the year.
Well, Manley's done pretty well so far in this qualifying session. Starting to try and make a name for himself in this 2025 season. Round the final corner he comes. Where does Manley go? Oh, it's pretty... Yeah, 14... Actually, it was invalidated. Didn't matter anyway. And not a lot of these drivers will be caring about this first lap, apart from Edu, of course, who I believe saved a set of those tyres in Q1, and that allows him to go on the attack again in this Q3 session, one more time than some of these other drivers. Danny Beresne's now up into P2. Thomas Ronhart very quietly going about his business in P3. There is Freddie Rasmussen. You can never, ever forget this man. Like, 4 times a runner-up and then wins the title. The consistency of this man to turn up, despite the changing of game physics year in, year out, he's there every single time.
Always the driver to beat. And someone has for 4 championships in a row, and then no one could last year, and he took his first title. But he's always been the benchmark driver that if you want the largest trophy at the end of the season, you're going to have to take it off that man. And he's been part of a lot of constructor success as well in previous years, but finally able to call himself the champion last year. And this, the opening round of the season. We've had our first jabs thrown in this Q3. It's time to get to the real thing. And it's time to get to the part of the session that we love, full attack. The drivers have made the top 10. That's everyone's. And on a day where we've seen champions go out in Q2, that's certainly an effort. Champions go out in Q1, of course, earlier on in the session. So if you get to the top 10, that's the job done. Can you find your best at the last moment of the qualifying hour? That's the aim for everyone out there.
There's Edu, getting ready for his final lap. Little smirk to the camera.
There we are, points for looking to the camera.
Yeah. We should...
Any more? Anywhere? No, it's certainly... You know it's getting to the...
there's not going to be one from Freddie.
He's locked in. He's the definition of locked in, that man.
He does not care about the cameras one bit. There's Ron Hart. Patting away to his engineers.
Our runner-up from last year, looking to go one better in 2025. And I'm really looking forward to this, Matt, because we could be saying the name of literally anyone on pole position. It is wide open in a way that certainly wasn't the last time I was having the privilege to call one of these sessions. It's going to be open, and we're going to see whether could we get Otis Lawrence writing an incredible story on debut. Will Freddie Rasmussen just dial it up at the end and go, oh, did you think you were going to get a shock? And there are so many others in there that will think that this is their moment. Thomas Ronhart, for example, will be expecting to mix it at the front of the field. But it really is a day to count absolutely no one out.
I think it's set it up pretty beautifully, hasn't it, this championship? I think we can be very excited for all of the rounds across the next 3 months or so, as Otis Lawrence getting himself comfortable in the monocoque, ready for that one final lap that could make a huge name for himself, and then he'll know for a fact that we will talk about him on the show constantly, because that's
how it
quite
works.
The story.
That's how the running orders work, my friends.
And you'll be pleased to know we've got cars back out on track. 1 minute 45 to go in the first qualifying session of this F1 Sim Racing World Championship. Edu's going to be feeling good. We saw that with the look to the camera, but also he's put in a very good banker lap, utilising those soft tyres very well. The extra set that he had from Q1, a 14.5. He's going to want to take it a step further, get into the 0.4s. But let's see. There's Freddie Rasmussen. Hasn't put a lap time on the board at the moment, but he's not going to be fazed by that. This is his opportunity. These are the tyres he wants. And it's all going to get sorted out in the next 1 minute 13 plus a little bit.
So this is the moment that matters. This is the time where the drivers put it all on the line to sort out the grid for the opening race of the year. We have seen earlier on today and for previous years, this is going to be separated by hundreds, if not thousands. It really does come down to every single braking zone around the lap. You have to deliver throughout. One mistake has cost some big names participation in this session, a session that all boils down, Matt Gallagher, to the next 40 seconds on the clock.
And here is Freddie Rasmussen, the reigning champion. I bet he likes the sound of that. Through the first couple of corners, beautifully works it there. A lot of momentum in that Red Bull. Hard braking now, bit of smoke from the car ahead, also on a hot lap ahead. But Freddie Rasmussen, he doesn't always take the limelight in terms of pole positions constantly, but he's always there, he's always in the races, and he's always scoring a lot of points. What can Freddie do in the first round of the season? Can he stick it on pole position and say, catch me if you can?
That's his aim. We're following the whole lap for him. The drivers are attacking at this stage of the session. Who can deliver when it matters at this stage of competition? The checkered flag is flying, ready to be collected for all of the drivers out there as we continue on board with the reigning champion. Absolutely deserves that right as he is chasing a lock-up ahead of him into turn number 11. Trying to balance between keeping it between the yellow lines of this circuit and sending it to the very front of the field. Time to put some lap times on the board. Who's going to take our opening pole of the year? Barry Boremund, Otis Lawrence gets there. Freddie Rasmussen takes it away from the pair of them. Does anyone have an answer for the world champions' time? It's a front row at the moment of a rookie and a champion as it stands, but there's still plenty. Oh, Fassi at the end. Fassi making a huge noise because he's taking it for Williams. It's Fassi, then we've got Rasmussen, then Lawrence, Barry Boremund, Josh Edu finds himself in 5th. That was the time from earlier on, very impressive one as well. Danny Beresnay is trying to fight his way to the front. He's the last one who can deny him, and he won't deny him. Williams are at the front of the field for the opening race of the year, thanks to Ismail Fassi, who's taken pole position for round 1.
What a lap, and I think we might have to be checking the infrastructure of the stage as well, because he was slamming that after taking pole position. It has to be said, we thought it was Freddie Rasmussen's for a little while, but Fassi on top.
He's taken that map by 3 thousandths of a second.
That's a massive gap, isn't it, really?
Absolutely joyous stuff. Otis Lawrence, 0.5 tenth of a second away on debut, is a mighty, mighty performance. But the top 3 separated by 57 thousandths of a second. That very much sounds like F1 sim racing in 2025. Bring on race 1.
Yeah, Lawrence, of course, P3. Has to be said, but let's talk about Pookie as well. P5, another rookie. Stars in this field. I cannot wait to see how these drivers will deal with the pressure as we get to the race later on. But Ismail Fassi, my goodness gracious me, that man made the whole place shake.
I know, it was incredible because it was one driver after another. Yes! And you're like, they don't have it. And it just kept repeating. Gentlemen, I have to say, as I'm sure everyone watching thoroughly enjoyed that, you looked like and sounded like you were really enjoying being back in the 2025 season because it had so much to offer. Even in Q1, some big names going out. Q2, even more big names went out. And in Q3, that excitement, that is why people love F1 sim racing.
I don't think anyone would have predicted a Williams on pole for the opening race of the year. It's fantastic how close that's been. It's about delivering when it really counted there. He stepped forward under big pressure, and I think that's why we got the reaction that we did.
Yeah, and obviously Williams, knowing, never having a victory in F1 sim racing, this could be the first pole to victory. We know how that tends to happen in F1 sim racing, Matt. But highlights for you. I know I'm just throwing you right under right now because after quite an exciting, chaotic quali. But what highlights for you there, Matt?
Well, the first thing I'll say is about the pole to victory. I wouldn't throw that straight in the mix for Fassi because he'll look to his right and see Freddie Rasmussen. So that in itself is a daunting prospect that Rasmussen is so far up in the first qualifying session of the year. The likes of Otmir, of course, struggling down in 11th and other drivers that we've spoken about out and not making it through to Q3.
And then you have Otis there as well, who's got something to prove as a rookie. So unpredictability. Yeah. And the fact that Freddie just saved the best till last, that's what we expected.
I think we kind of expected that, didn't we? That he was going to switch it on.
Could never count out Freddie. But the likes of Otis up in P3, who I know he's not afraid to go for a move, from what I've heard. The murmurs is, Otis is very, very fast. Can he translate that into the race? That's another question.
And extra points as well up for grabs with the big smiles being thrown around left, right and centre. You're a big fan of that, Alex. There were a lot of smiles. There was a lot of tension between certain drivers. And some drivers, I feel it's brutal, as I'm sure you will agree, that they just have to sit there for the rest of the duration of quali. That's really brutal, where they just have to think about what went wrong.
Yeah, tough. I'm not sure I'd fancy that at all. As you point out, point for pole position. So we've got a new championship leader.
Yeah, there we go. Championship leader.
Straight away. Williams, congratulations. Let's just end it there. They'll be very happy with the first ever Constructors title. But right, now Claire is with one of the drivers, so let's find out who she's chatting to.
Well, of course, I'm speaking to the man, Ismail Fassi, who's on pole position for Williams. And we were just talking about how incredible that was. We know that last year you showed some glimmers of brilliance. This time, it's pole position and it's the first one for you.
Well, I'm speechless. Like in Jeddah, at that time it was podium, now it's a pole. First race of the season, starting on pole is surely a nice way to start. First pole ever for me. Obviously, that doesn't mean that the race is gonna be easy. Obviously, it will be chaotic. I just want to enjoy this moment with the team, with my friends, not only my teammates. Yeah, just very exhausted.
I was going to say, you seem we've only done one qualifying session. We've got a race to go. We've got 2 to go tomorrow and another one on the final day too. So we're going to have to contain some of that. Just talk me through, where did you find that speed?
Especially in Sector 3, the downforce of the setup always has been very strong through the ERS. We leave a lot of ERS for the last sector. Just nailed the last sector, and that's why I got pole by 4 thousandths of a second, I think, from Freddie. So, yeah, very happy. A special one, a day that I will never forget, surely. So, yeah, just hoping to get a good race, a good start of the season.
Not just Freddie, but the reigning F1 sim racing champion. That's got to feel even sweeter.
To be honest, I don't think about that. I just want to start up there, show what I'm capable of, and yeah, enjoy.
How do you approach this race then, starting on pole position?
Well, I wasn't expecting it, so...
Are you surprised?
Very surprised, very surprised. I guess we will try our best, and if we can get at least, if not the win, the podium, I would be happy anyways. It's the first race of the season, we've got 12, so...
Pole position's the right place to start. Who from behind is going to cause you some concern?
Everyone.
Literally, the whole grid is behind you, so I can see why you're saying that. But who are you really looking out for?
Everyone in the top 10, because, you know, the undercut is very powerful. Yeah, I can't say anything else. Just everyone in the top 10.
Every single person on the grid, including the top 10. Thank you. Well done, and good luck for the race.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire, asking the difficult questions. But Ismail Fassi and even Alfie Butcher, when he went out in Q1, just the level of professionalism, how calm all the drivers are when they're discussing how things have gone, just straight after a race. But Ismail, very happy with that. And in terms of his season last year, he finished 8th in the Drivers' Championship, but no points after the 6th race. So he started so strong. Yeah. This will give him such a confidence coming into this season right now.
Well, you heard that he was surprised with what's happened, but it's a big step forward. It did feel throughout that entire session, though, that it was slightly more wide open than we're used to. By the way, the arena that we're in at the moment, one giant cool-down room, because everyone is just having a debrief about what's going on here. And what's going on here is that there are going to be some very surprised people behind us.
Yeah.
Including our pole sitter.
Yeah, it's such a privileged position that we are in to be able to hear, to even see Barry just walk into shot now to congratulate or to commiserate Lucas and just to debrief. That's one thing I do love about watching F1 sim racing is they can debrief and say where they've gone wrong or where they can improve when it comes to the race later on.
This is how much it means to them, right? As soon as they get out of the sim rig, they have an urgency to go and talk about it to everyone else in the session. So what did you do? Did you lock up there?
Yeah.
And this is brilliant, right? And the team's mixing as well. It's not just like little cliques. They're all merged together. Some like each other more than others, obviously, but it's
no names, Matt. It's too early in the season. Name no names.
It's like this team, isn't it? My goodness.
But it's good to see the camaraderie.
Okay, let's focus on Q1 then. In terms of the big names out, Alfie Butcher, Brendan Lee, announcing the retirement as well. When we shot to him just before going to Albert Park Circuit, he was asleep. He felt a little bit asleep at times. Yeah. But disappointing. But for Alfie Butcher, that's a bit of a shock from what we saw last year from him.
Yeah, he was sensational in his rookie campaign. He's moved to McLaren, expectation that comes with that, team that have taken drivers to the title before. For Brendan Lee, the disappointment is he's a proven winner around this circuit. For Alfie Butcher, it's just not quite the start he would have wanted for his second season.
Yeah, he said there was no pressure just because you're at a new team, but there was definitely a sense of disappointment and then what he can do for the race. Same when you move on to Q2 with Jarno Opmeer, just those small tenths of a second difference is why he's now 11th and we'll have it all to do. In terms of watching live, people commenting, it's the P11 to P1 challenge has begun for Jarno.
Yes, I know a lot of his fans want him to upload, so maybe this is one of his P11 to first challenges. But look, it's so close, and this is where the experience comes in. The likes of Jarno Opmeer, Freddie Rasmus, whoever it might be, that have a difficult qualifying session, they know for a fact it can change in a heartbeat. Yeah. The races are obviously quite difficult, but it's that mental strength to just pick yourself up and go, yeah, I lost half a tenth. Move on. Like, you just have to erase it from your memory and get into the next session.
A driver who will be starting in P15 is with Claire Cotting right now. You're with Nicholas Longay.
I am indeed with Nicholas Longay. And potentially not a particularly happy Nicholas Longay starting in 15th, but it is the first race of the season. There is so much more to go. And if we've seen someone fight back, it's definitely you. Just talk me through how you're feeling at the moment.
Yeah, obviously not the best way to start. I was feeling very confident going into this qualifying session. All the laps were going very well. And then my last lap in Q2, I just hit the curb in the wrong way, went straight into the chicane, and I just lost a bunch of time. And I knew there was very little chance to come back from that one. But I feel very, very good in the race, as always. And I think Australia with 4 DRS zones, anything is possible, and I think I can fight my way back through.
It's a very interesting grid, of course. We've got Williams on pole position in Ismail Fassi. There's someone that himself, in fairness, said he was surprised. So there's all chances to take, isn't there, going into this?
Yeah, absolutely. There's been quite a few surprises I've seen during this qualifying. Some top drivers that were expected to be at the front aren't. So anything can happen in the race. Maybe some wet to play into the mix as well could be nice to up my chances a little bit. But I'll just do my best, yeah.
Of course, it was all celebrations at the end of last year for Ferrari. They were the Constructors' champions. Such celebrations as well. Did you continue the celebrations? How has it finally sunk in, or are we starting to the new season now and it's kind of in the past?
Our celebrations lasted for some time, for sure. I mean, there's a big off season, so we have plenty of time to celebrate together, but it's been a few months that already we're just fully focused on this new season. Whatever has happened in the past happens in the past, and now we're just focused on the present, and that's the best attitude I think we can have.
And what is the goal this season? Is it back fighting alongside your teammate? Last year we spoke so much about you and Barry and what a wonderful partnership that you two were together, the teamwork that you do. Are we going to see more of that this year, or is it a bit more of a focus on you as a driver?
I'm sure it's always going to be me and Barry working together to get that title again. I'm sure we can do it. I know for a fact that we have the pace and the confidence. I know this might seem just like a bad start, but it can happen to anyone. There's still 11 qualifyings to go, 12 races, nothing's written yet. So I'm still feeling relatively good.
From 15th on the grid, how are you going to play out this race?
Well, first of all, do the rain dance and then pray a little bit, but then it's mostly going to be how I can manage my tires and see what everyone around me is kind of doing. I mean, there's quite a bit of different strategies you can do. I'm going to try and do something that maybe that someone might not expect, because I think that's my best chance to maybe get some positions and maybe see if I can hold on. Yeah.
Quite a few drivers have said it's going to be chaotic this year, that everyone's going to be really going for it. There's so much to play for, of course, in terms of the prize pot as well. How are you going to focus it, and how have you come into this season thinking about, mentality and getting back into sim racing?
I mean, it was already crazy last year, so I think it's only going to get worse or better for you guys watching, and more stress on us. But I think with the way we're so close to each other, even more this year than we ever been before. So the battles will just never stop. And in a track like Australia with 4 DRS zones, it's gonna be carnage at the front.
Got a couple of races, obviously 4 races over the next few days. We've got China back on the grid. Is that a track that you enjoy?
Yes, I really like China. It was one of my favorite tracks for quite some time. So I look forward to going back there. Yeah.
Okay, so which of the 4 races are you most looking forward to? Don't roll your eyes at me.
I've got to say China, because it's been a while since we've raced there. But I also really like Bahrain. It's one of my really strong tracks. So I think those 2 are my main priorities.
Okay, well, go well and do the best you can in Australia. I'm really excited to see what happens in Australia, because I think it's going to be absolutely crazy out there. What do you think you're going to... is it a podium? We got a podium thinking?
Podium is a bit optimistic.
I like optimism.
Okay, then we can go for a podium.
Okay, podium. And just talk me then, is it a track that you enjoy?
We've never really raced Australia for quite a few years, so we don't really know what to expect. It's a bit hard to overtake in this track because everyone is just on a big DRS train. So honestly, I have no idea. I'm going to find out at the same time you're going to find out.
Oh, well, I'm excited then. Well, good luck. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Very much to Claire and Nicolas Longuet, very positive about it. We've been joined on the desk by a former F1 sim racing driver, 5 seasons in the game, wins under his belt as well. Perfect time. Marcel Kiefer, how are you? And how exciting is this? A start to 2025.
Honestly, thank you for having me, Tom. Lovely to be on board with you guys, legends of the F1 industry, obviously, so it's a big honor for me. But honestly, this has been insane. This was a really tight qualifying. It was an up and down, especially also I feel like for Ferrari. For Barry, it was a rough start. It seemed like he's not too confident. And then suddenly he picked up the pace while it turned around for Nico in Q2. I also prepared a little bit for that, what happened actually between the drivers on the track.
I'm excited about this, Marcel, because if you guys don't know, we've got Marcel in to be the analyst, be bringing us sections throughout. But can I just get your sense, because Alex and Matt and myself have been talking about it, there seems to be a sense of relief in the studio right now from the drivers, just trying to get that first quali out the way. Is that what you're seeing right now?
Honestly, I mean, yes, because for the drivers that did well, they are very happy. The other ones, they are maybe just relieved, but they want to get back on track. But they are working so hard for months just to get to this point, and then when they are actually in the driver's seat, they can feel the nerves. They don't want to disappoint themselves, but also their teammate, the team, the sponsors. There's so much going on behind the scenes in F1 esports that you actually don't see on the surface when we are live here. So for the viewers out there, there's so much going on. You actually can't believe how much they are putting in there, how much the teams actually support the drivers, and how serious they are taking it. I think they are probably, if they talk to Charles, Lewis, or someone else, they are probably like, hats off. They are actually doing a great job for, let's just say, just playing video games. It's not video games, it's a profession. So yeah, incredible job and super tight as always. I think it was a great opener. Maybe a little bit of rain would have made it even more sketchy. But Williams on pole, that is a great thing. Like, they had such a rough season last year, especially Ismail. Then also the top dog already, Otis, with 16 years of age, his first ever session on LAN. He had no LAN experience.
I'm scared of him for 2 reasons. Number one, his race pace, and also as he walked past, I went for a fist bump. It actually punched my fist. I'm still recovering from that. I don't know if that's adrenaline going through him, but I'm out of the game now. In terms of yourself, Marcel, and seeing what happened in Q1, Q2, Q3, biggest surprise for you, maybe a shock for you, maybe?
I think the Q2 exits. Seeing Nico actually quite confident in Q1, then suddenly he turned into somewhat of a, I don't want to call it mess, but for F1 esports standards, after having such a strong showing in Q1, suddenly he didn't get the momentum right and he made mistake over mistake. Then with Blakely, again, he seemed strong in Q1. I also didn't expect his teammate to immediately get out of Q1 because Alfie was so strong last year. At Haas, no disrespect, but I know how much McLaren invests and how much some other teams invest. It's similar to real F1, where some teams can do more than others and some teams are willing to do more, also depending on the sponsors. And I think maybe he's feeling the pressure. He says he doesn't, but it's still McLaren. You know, it's a big team, big name. They want to construct their world championship already. Lucas won the Drivers' Championship, so he has a lot to prove. And obviously he wants to do well there. So yeah, for him it was a surprise. Then also Ottmar out, but it doesn't mean anything for him. I mean, we know Jano, he's, I think...
it's race pace. It's all about race pace when it comes to it. Alex, Matt and myself are eagerly anticipating you getting into some analysis. Where are we going to start then, Marcel?
Okay, we're actually starting with the, let's call it Ferrari mess in Q1, because Barry had a rough one. So here we go. That is actually Q2. Hold on, this is Q1, sorry. That was my bad.
We're starting early.
It's all right. We'll edit this.
We'll edit it all out. It's not live. Don't worry about it. Marcel, we got your back.
So actually, guys, just for the viewers out there, I will pause and accelerate the video wherever it's needed, because when you're a driver, you practice a lot. You are also practicing the right time of the day, different weather, and so you have the shadows, the braking points. They don't really change that much. And on this onboard, there's one thing that changed, and that is the driver on the inside. Jan Ottmar, he's not blocking him, but for a driver, I know that myself, you can get distracted quickly if you always practice the same scenario at home over and over and over again. You suddenly see Barry lock up, and that was his first run, and that was, I think, the reason why he was lacking confidence for his second run in Q1. But then in Q2, he kind of recovered it. So let's have a quick look at it. Pay attention to the Red Bull over here. We can actually see it there, under braking. So, and now you can already see Bari is starting to brake at the 100-meter board, and she's just suddenly locking up a little bit, also flicking in the steering wheel nicely. But with that, he's missing the apex, and with that, he's also understeering on the exit. Can't align it perfectly for the next left-hander. He's literally going fully to the left, and you don't want that. It's not needed. The car has so much grip. You kind of want to go early to the right and flick it over to the left, use the curb, and rotate the car again, which already messed up his first run. Then we are here with, I think that was not a mistake. He actually got it together there again. That was on his second lap. And you just need to see the commitment the drivers take in the high-speed chicane. You actually think they're going off the track, but actually they are not. Like, how is this not an off track? That's unbelievable. But because the drivers are always making sure that one tire is still within the track limits, within a frame, it could change already. But this is the amount of perfection the drivers are going for, and it was enough for Bari to get through to the next qualifying session.
Well, because you mentioned that as well, JC, when you were seeing just attacking those curbs, or just to just absolutely send it and being gentle on that throttle as well.
Yeah, risk versus reward there, isn't it? But as Marcel points out, the rear tyre still in contact with the racetrack, so that's how they're getting away with it. If you're wondering, hold on a minute, it was definitely all four wheels off the racetracks. Rear wheels still in contact. That's what you need when it's such fine margins on the timing page.
We saw that in Abu Dhabi. Tyre bulge. Am I allowed to say tyre bulge just yet? No, maybe not. Okay, Marcel, let's go back to you with some analysis.
Let's just get back to Q2, and that is his teammate, actually. I think, yes, that is Nico Longway when it started falling apart. His first run, it's quite tricky to get the track limits right on Australia, but you can see he just barely went over. Oof. The yellow line is the white line. There's a white line in between the curb and the yellow line, but on Australia, the yellow line is the white line. So he just pushed a little bit more. You can see they are attacking a lot the first corner already. He can actually cut that even a little bit more. But then when you pay attention to his front right, he's just not in contact with the yellow line anymore. With that, the first run didn't matter anymore. So he had a lot of pressure, and when you have this sort of pressure, it can sometimes only end in failure, unfortunately, no matter how good you are.
So is that just a case of driver error, or was he just taking a little bit too much speed in? Because that's millimeters, right? Like, has he not... He's practiced it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But what would you put that down to?
Driver error.
Yeah,
I mean that's just like sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. Also, we call it RNG when it's like a little bit luck involved, because if you go at these speeds and you need to cut certain curbs, it sometimes pushes you off. Especially when we were racing Monza, the second chicane is so difficult, and it can make or break your lap. And for Nico, it just didn't work out. But he had another shot, and it didn't work out in the first run. On the second one, it also didn't. But here's also interesting, because we had the interview with Jano. That was from his final run in Q2. And he mentioned his first sector was quite good. He was matching compared to his previous lap. But then it actually started falling apart. He had a big snap of oversteer going through the fast right-hander. You can see on the steering wheel. He also corrects on the throttle a little bit. Look at this snap. That is actually crazy car control. Still doesn't get an off track. And then there's another moment coming up, and that is at the exit of the fast speed chicane, where he gets, I think, another big lift. Is it a lift? No, this one was actually fine. It was just a small one. Here, this corner. He had another big snap of oversteer on the exit and lost half a tenth to a tenth.
He said they were small mistakes as well.
This is not small. Mr. Ottmer, please.
We won't get him involved just yet. What I will ask on that is, of course, with this game, they are managing a bit of oversteering, right? They're always, the back end's always flying up. That's just a case of trying to get that perfect amount of rear end coming round, but then that's obviously a little bit too much.
Of course, this is a little bit too much. Usually they are trying to rock the rears a little bit so they can get a bit more rotation in. But here I think he overdone it, and also a bit too aggressive on the throttle then with probably too much steering. You could actually see at the bottom that, I think down here, he's literally full throttle whilst counter steering. I guess he already was done with the lap and just wanted to have a little bit of fun.
I hope the drivers coming into this season have all been told that Marcel will find fault, will find
just laugh in.
Just forensically. It's constructive criticism, but these are the fine margins that are going to set the drivers apart. In terms of that RNG you were talking about and mistakes being made early on, do you think this will go come race time, or maybe even quali tomorrow in China and Bahrain, just because it's the first one? Get it out the way.
I mean, there's a couple of corners on each track where you call it RNG, where it's a little bit down to luck, where you have to drive it a little bit different than what you would maybe expect as natural. You still do it in the real car, maybe to a different degree than on the game. But like China, last corner, you have to cut the inside. I think you still remember that.
From 2010.
2010,
he was telling us.
Oh, my word.
We haven't got that much time left on the broadcast.
All right, let's keep it sharp and get to the point. Otis Lawrence, phenomenal start. Is there an area that you've analysed of his race in this?
I mean, he hasn't done a foot wrong, in my opinion. Like, I mean, obviously he's not on pole, but P3 in your first outing, and he was P1, I think, in Q2 as well. He was P1 in Q1. The only thing that was missing was the triple, and we have actually a comparison right here between the 2 laps from Fredrik Rasmussen on the left and Otis Lawrence on the right. Unfortunately, I didn't focus because I didn't have in mind that Ismail Fassi. I was still thinking maybe we should focus on him, but Otis was so strong and Freddie is just a menace on this racetrack. You can see it's very similar. Otis attacks the curbs a little bit more than Freddie, and it's actually ahead at this point. Maybe Freddie's also going for lower downforce because you need to be quite fast on the straights here. Freddie used a little bit more outside curb on the exit there. Then here I think Freddie's catching up. It looks like he has less downforce than Otis. Otis should be gaining time back on him in sector 3 if he nails it. Yeah, Freddie is slightly ahead at this point. Now he's flicking it in. Also for the right, they're cutting so much, it's actually crazy. Lots of confidence from both drivers. It actually looks like a similar lap. Like you couldn't tell the difference if you don't look closely. But now Otis should come back at him. In the end, Freddie was still a little bit faster, half a tenth. There was probably some sort of mistake in the final corner for Otis. Still looking pretty neat, but Freddie is just slightly ahead, and there was enough for P2. Otis P3 and Ismail Fassi with a great lap for Williams Esports. So I think we are in for a great race. Hopefully a little bit of rain or mixed conditions to mix it up.
I'm sure I speak for Alex and Matt. This is, and everyone watching, this is fantastic to have this analysis. Thank you so much, Marcel. No wonder he was banging on about China, because every time we've raced there, he's been on the podium. So let's find out where Claire is with. I believe she's with Otis.
I am indeed with Otis, and we were just watching that, of course, the replay of you up against Freddie Rasmussen, and we were just talking about the differences. Otis, firstly, welcome to F1 Sim Racing. What an impressive rookie you are, and what a superstar that we might have on our hands here. How are you feeling and how are you settling in?
I'm feeling good. You know, I felt like I lacked some time in the first 2 sectors, but again, it's P3 in my first session. I'm very happy. You know, hopefully I can do this again in the next few sessions. Hopefully we can win the race. But yeah, I'm very, very happy. I want to thank everyone in my team. Fab and Duncan have done an outstanding job on setup and helping me as a driver. Axel Ties have done a great job as well, and Joost and Jan Halliday have helped a lot on the dev side as well. So I really want to thank them for helping me in this very tense environment. You know, I'm not used to it yet. Just still trying to get over it, how good this place looks. But yeah, I'm very happy.
Well, absolutely, because here we're all in a little studio together. And as Alex was saying at the beginning of the show, the atmosphere is incredibly tense out there. How did you find it, and how did you still manage to get P3 on your first attempt at LAN?
You know, I felt a bit less pressure than at home. I think it's just because you're with everyone. But yeah, I just kind of put my head down, kept focus. At the end of the day, you know, it's just another race, first race as well. So we're just gotta take it bit by bit. Don't put too much pressure on myself, and yeah.
And of course, you're alongside some of the biggest names in F1 sim racing, and now yourself alongside Aston Martin, another huge brand. How are you feeling, and do you feel like you've really accomplished something being here?
Honestly, it feels brilliant to be here. Aston Martin is a fantastic team that I've worked with. They've really helped me as much as they could have. I want to thank them like crazy. But yeah, man, I was watching this when I was 9 in 2017. Watching Brendan and Fab go at it. So it's quite emotional to be here. But yeah, it's surreal seeing everyone.
Now you're going to be racing alongside them. Go well. And thank you so much for chatting to us.
Thank you.
Absolutely love that. Otis Lawrence, what a start for him in his rookie season. He was 9 years of age in 2017. That takes us way back. Let's look at the starting grid, where we'll be going racing at 2100 Central Eastern Time. So at the back there, Joris Krozen, Verhaast and Alvaro Carreton, one of those drivers with a heck of a lot of races under his belt. Maybe he could do something in the race. Declan Barrett, his rookie season, and starts in 18th. Alfie Butcher, he talked about the mistakes early on in his quali. Brendan Lee, retiring this year. He's going to make the most of every single race. Nicholas Longe, a surprise, but he knows what he can do, starting in 15th on the grid. And then your former world champ, Lucas Blakely, in 14th, and Fabrizio Donoso in 13th. And then we have two very experienced drivers, a two-time world champion, Joni Tormala in 12th, and Jana Motme, that world champion, 2 times in 11th. Thomas Gow, his rookie season, 10th for him. Tom Malley in 9th for Origin RB. And Daniel Beresny starts in 8th. Will he be singing maybe a win at the end of the race? Thomas Runner starts in 7th as we get further up the starting grid. Josh Edo in 6th, his new team Alpine doing very well to start with. Istvan Pukki in 5th, another rookie for Mercedes. Both drivers making it into Q3. Barry Brumand in 4th, Otis Lawrence, who we just heard from in 3rd, and then the front row of the grid starts with Freddie Rasmussen in 2nd and Ismail Fassi. What a starting grid that is, and that is more jumbled than we necessarily predicted at the beginning of the season. And some people were shocked there to find out Joni Tormala was a 2-time world champion. Just for a moment there, we were all thinking,
you dug yourself out of the hole. It all worked. It all worked.
And then you just brought it up. Now everyone.
Yeah, but I tell you what though, what hasn't been mentioned about Joni Tormala, he was on the podium. He finished 3rd back in 2018.
Yep. But
I missed that bit. I missed that bit. I went for a little walk. What are we looking forward to when we come back in 2100?
All of it, bring it on. I didn't think that would be the grid at all. That is basically a scrambled grid. Anyone can win the race. You're going to have drivers massively out of position, going super aggressive with strategy. Could get a first-time winner. It's great to be back. It's great that it's so open.
And we're going to get Marcel on the touchpad. So
more of that, please.
Love it.
Sign me up.
Right then, this is the F1 Sim Racing World Championship 2025. Thank you very much for joining us for quali. We'll see you back here at 2100 Central Eastern Time for the Australian Grand Prix. We'll see you then.